I guess.
All right.
I don't know why that's gonna be the.
Let's do a show tonight, guys.
It's gonna be, and I hit record right then, so literally for the video version of the show, it's just gonna be you. Should we start a show? And then that weird, I guess. Great.
Great. That's great.
That's great.
Okay. Well,
everything's great.
Well, the podcast is gonna end up starting, a little more epic, probably.
Oh,
True.
yeah.
So-
Not wrong.
Stop meowing. Stop
Meow.
meowing. Go away.
It's starting with a cat.
Yeah.
Do you have a squirt bottle or anything?
I breathed through my nose and I heard a honk. This is gonna get distracting at some point. You're breathing. Listen to how clear my breathing is.
This is not how you start an ASMR podcast.
My asthma's gone. Listen to me breathe. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and do
well,
an
if you
actual
need a
show.
horn to start the show, let me know and I'll just.
All right, okay. I am stopping the pre-show recording and starting the recording.
This is War Chief Sylvanus Windrunner, and you're listening to Azeroth Roundtable with Ben Bumhofer and my champion of the Horde, John Jagger. The Dark Lady watches over you, and my statue.
Welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 333. It's Friday night. The War Chief's eyes are upon us. I'm Ben Bumhofer, and with me, as always, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hello, Ben. It's great.
Oh, wow, your Artana statue showed up already. Sorry, I'm just looking at your screen,
Look
which
at
I know
that.
is great for a podcast, but...
Let's all start with a lot of statue talk. That's fine. But Sylvanas brought it up, so it's only fair we talk about it.
Yeah.
She's got company right now. She's got a little Artanis next to her.
Nice.
And that's what we all need in life, really. You know, when the weight of the world has got you down, you just need to bring in a little Artanis into your life. It'll just swap
Totally.
things around for you. Turn it around. You know, we could have had a show where it was just us tonight. We turned to Artanis, and he swapped in our guests. Mew, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. If we're going to
Hey,
talk about
you-
statues, it's going to take a while because I have quite the collection too, as you can't see.
Yep, they're not on camera, so we can't acknowledge them.
No.
So-
Well, you can see I do have my sledgehammer and my lightsaber, and that's my battle
You're-
axe. It's great for those that are just listening.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
it's a great.
Which
podcast.
I gotta say, so are you of the like mind like me that when you aren't looking, your statues do come alive, just a la Toy Story, or is that just a me thing?
Oh yeah, that's why I have them positioned in different scenes and whatnot, and they're usually amongst their own kind. I try not to mix them too much because then who knows what's going on. But they have all nice little cubbies over there to keep them from getting too much trouble.
Oh, okay, just making sure. John, you got a weird face.
Nope, it's fine. Some thoughts are private thoughts, and let's just roll past them. Let's go, Ben. Let's start the show.
Those are some loud private thoughts.
My
some-
face wears my thoughts. I can't help it. I have a animated face.
Yes, yes, you do. Some thoughts, or some people wear their emotions on their sleeve. You wear your private thoughts on your face.
Yep, private's right on my face.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, anyways, speaking of thoughts, I was actually, kind of sitting around thinking, we've had some good talk about WoW Classic lately and everything, and the thing that kind of is still kind of itching at the back of my head. The thing that I'm really wondering about and stuff is, can you really go in playing WoW Classic, but downloading every single add-on possible to make it just like WoW Now, which is what I'm going to be calling Battle for Azeroth?
How now, Valkyrie?
Yeah.
How now? Wow.
Now.
Well, I play a Tauren, so it's how now, wow cow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works. But I mean, I understand that probably, at least from what I've been talking about, the big draw for everybody is, social aspect is back and stuff, and some people are like, oh, it's gonna be harder and everything. But a lot of these add-ons that people are already like pre-downloading and looking at and everything are making the game so much easier to kind of sidestep a lot of that classic flavor, like versions of Quest Helper and stuff. It's like I don't really
I think
like.
the problem you've just run into is you said my understanding is everybody, and I think where it falls apart is the phrase everybody.
Well,
Because I
obviously not
think
everybody.
I think well no, but I'm not trying to be like haha Ben I caught you saying the wrong word and now I'm gonna rub it in your face. But I
Yes.
think that there is the conception that we have as standing outside looking at people getting ready to play it and what we believe they're there for, when there's probably a myriad of reasons why people are there playing. And if I think about the parts of WoW Classic that I would be excited about, it's not stuff that says you can't have add-ons for this or you have to play it exactly how it was. Like for me, it's you know what, it'd be great to go back to a world where I get something every level while leveling up, where I get to see the world in its whole state. I don't need the whole classic package to want to see the Barrens as a single zone again and go out there and type a bad Chuck Norris joke and then be like, made it authentic. Like, a lot of these experiences don't hinge on that. And I think that there is a group of people out there that are just like, no, I want to play it how it was. I want the nostalgia trip. Just inject pure nostalgia right into me. And I would think that if they're being true to that statement, then yes, they would avoid mods that they didn't have back then. But I think that that makes up only a small portion of players. And if I can get controversial with a statement, my guess would be those are players that are going to bounce quick. Because I think the people that are just there going, I just want to feel what it feels like to be there again, are going to go, oh, that's it. Yep. And then they're going to be done. And that's going to be the end of it. But I think for a lot of people, I know Kyle Ferguson, I talked to him not too long ago. And one of the things he told me that was most appealing about Classic to him, and part of the reason why he wanted to try it, was the concept of a MMO where the goalposts don't move. And you have a start point, you have an end point, and whether you do that in a couple months, whether you do that in years, whatever, that goalpost just isn't going to move for you. It's just always going to be there. And it's not going to be a case of, oh, I didn't stay up on the content. Now I'm so far behind, I don't even know if I want to get back in. Like, it will always be there, it will always be ready, and you can always get in and just do what you want to do.
Makes sense. And it's funny that you ask about it. So, in case you didn't know, I played in vanilla. Just to get that out of the way.
You were a collector vanilla.
Yeah. But back then, I remember playing with add-ons. So, to me, that seems like it's perfectly authentic. Yeah, maybe the more recent ones that are like a lot more in depth. Maybe LVUI might be a little too extra for a WoW Classic, but I remember having add-ons. They weren't huge, but they were there. There was a couple things you had. It wasn't like full remakes of your UI or anything, but there was little things here and there. Just it just made things a little easier. It was before we even knew that we could have quest tracking and all that fancy stuff. So that stuff is probably too new. But that was part of the experience I had back then. So it doesn't surprise me at all that all these add-ons are popping up.
Yeah, well, I mean, add-ons in general, that's a part of WoW. That's how WoW has been. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ones that are like, okay, these are gonna be the ones that, again, like a Quest Helper add-on. I don't know if like Healbot and stuff was around back then or not.
I don't remember it being
there. There is
there.
a version that
Yes.
someone's working on it and stuff. I mean, I just look at all the different things and all the different quality of life things and things that were previously add-ons that Blizzard has taken and actually just baked right into the game. And, people are just going to be doing the same thing when they hate all these quality of life things, but are putting them back in a different way and stuff. I don't know. It's one of those weird dichotomies that you see when, well, I mean, there's like, 1,000 different mindsets in putting current WoW together anyways. So of course everybody's going to be all over the place with everything. But I don't know. I look at those people and like I guess I'm silently judging them and thinking it's kind of weird that they want this, this classic experience and everything, but they still want to have a quest tracker or a quest add-on, and but they still want to have this, but they still want to have this, and like if depending on what their goal is, they might not ever really be able to hit it if they don't like really let go and just immerse themselves into classic.
It sounds more like they're wanting something that Final Fantasy XIV is doing soon, called New Game Plus, where you can go back to the old stories and whatnot, and see how things were, but still in the current game. That's kind of what like a New Game Plus in any game is like, going back, but with the stuff you're used to already. But I'm also curious too to see, there have been a lot of add-ons that have disappeared because WoW integrated them into the game eventually. It'll be interesting to see those pop back in. And it's also interesting to see what add-on makers can do with things how they used to be, with the knowledge they have now. So that's kind of fascinating from a code perspective, because things acted differently back then. The API was completely different. The way the game reacted to the add-ons was completely different. They've changed so much. They can do a lot more. Like if you remember when they used to be able to like draw on the screen and do crazy stuff like that before they took it out. I mean, I'm curious to see if stuff like that's going to start popping in, because they're not supposedly going to move forward the code base at all.
Yeah, it is some of the older code.
So it'll be interesting to see what old exploits and old way of doing things are going to start popping up again. It's just kind of fascinating to see them work with that old code base, but with new thinking.
Yeah. But I will say, speaking of old stuff that is like becoming relevant again, Nevermore picked up something from, a used bookstore forever ago. The good old WoW Atlas. And guess what? That thing's going to come in handy again. She's actually really excited to play around with it and stuff. I'm kind of happy about that. I'm like, this is really cool.
A lot of old stuff is valid again. I still have some Prima Games stuff from all the old WoW stuff that you can crack back open. Hey, look, it's all that old stuff.
Hey, it's just as relevant now as it was back then.
Indeed.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think I think Blizzard had a decision they had to make. Do we allow mods? Yes or no at a base level? And if they say no, that's not a classic experience. So even for the people who are saying like, oh no, I want the nostalgia trip, if Blizzard says no mods, that's not authentic. I had mods since very early on. So to say no, we're not going to allow any, that's not authentic. To say, okay, well, we're going to police it to make sure that it's only mods that would have been usable and made at the time and did the things, that's first of all not very feasible. I don't think Blizzard wants to put people on that, because it's a silly task. But also, nobody says that this has to be exactly what it was before. Like, we are looking at it through a lens, through a different time. Already the game isn't going to be what it is, because people are going to go in with a lot more knowledge than they used to have. Back in the day, we didn't know anything. People would just be like, here, I think they're going to make an expansion. I think you're going to go to Outland. And it was like a whisper. Like, it wasn't like news sites. There was no, like, I already know how this expansion ends. Or, nobody was sitting on a podcast going, Shadowlands. Like, every single week leading up to the announcement of Burning Crusade. Like, it was, we're going in with knowledge that we have from being able to look back in hindsight. So I think even the people where you make the case of, well, they're just there for the nostalgia, like, even them, they're getting a different experience. And to me, being able to put in different mods that do different things is a part of what that new classic, I can't believe I just said that, experience is.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Every time I go and play what is it, Jedi Outcast, I put in the cheat codes because I've already done the content. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go in and actually have fun with it.
Yeah, it's
Not
kind of
saying
a
the
rule
game's
I
not
have too.
fun, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
once
mean,
you've gone through once at least, then to have fun with it, do crazy
yeah,
things.
exactly. Have the lightsaber that just cuts off limbs all the time.
I
Set
mean,
all
I
your
would
force powers to
argue
5.
you
I
should
mean,
have that lightsaber from the beginning.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who in their right mind would give it to Luke to just randomly put in a Jedi temple trap somewhere? You know, why would you do that? Makes no sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, so uh, we got an email in that had something that is kind of an interesting topic. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is a bit lengthy, but you two are the perfect people to kind of talk about this with, considering I know for a fact that one, if not two of you, have dabbled in something called Final Fantasy 14.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep, no idea.
That's not obvious at all. No.
Yeah,
I don't spend
John-
every waking time not in WoW playing it or anything.
John, this is it's another massively multiplayer online role-playing game.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyways, to take a long email and basically throw it into one tiny sentence. And I'm not doing that justice at all. Sorry, David. Anyways, what do you guys think about Blizzard taking the job system and applying it towards WoW? Like, obviously, it'd be a huge shakeup of how the game plays and mechanics and everything like that. But do you think that it's something that could actually become beneficial, or do you think that the way that WoW sets up its story and everything like that, it doesn't really have a place?
I'm gonna let Mew answer second because he's gonna give this the amount of thought and attention and detail that this question deserves. And I'm gonna answer by shooting from the hip like I often do. Yes, I wish this was around since it was Final Fantasy XI and not 14. You know, I think the idea of being able to say, this is my character and I want to, you know, I want my character to do this and this and this and this and all of that, I think is a cool idea. And that's, you know, if I look back at that time when I was playing WoW and Ben, you were playing Final Fantasy XI, and we'd occasionally come together and compare notes, and I would trounce you on the what's cool department. The area
that is so true.
the area that I did get a little jealous about, there were two. One was player housing, and the other was the job system. As I was just like, oh, that system sounds so much cooler than just pick a class.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh god, I died and de-leveled again. You're like, oh no, WoW's better.
Yeah, oh wait, way better. But I do like that idea. You know, we live in a world where, you know, even when you take a look at some of the things that inspire role-playing games today, when you take a look at Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, there is multi-classing and the concept of being able to put abilities in multiple different classes and not just be tied to one. And I think the idea of saying like, no, my character's doing this now, and it allows you to also tell creative stories within your character. You know, one of the things that they had as a goal for Lich King was the idea that you would go through this expansion, and at a certain point in the story there would be a moment where your character could potentially die and be resurrected as a Death Knight. And it would be your character, and you would basically be changing your class to Death Knight. That was the original idea. And my understanding from developer interviews and things like that is that the general consensus of why this got cut as an element was that it was too tempting to do. Like, hey, do you want to change your class to a Death Knight? Like, of course I do. That sounds amazing. And then what happens when you change all these people's classes and now maybe they don't like the class you've made and they've changed to, and now you've shooken up the world in a really rough kind of way and maybe caused some problems for yourself. So it was probably the right decision to get rid of, but having a character be able to take on multiple roles or jobs or classes or whatever you want to call it in this case is a way where they can do something like that, and you can tell your own personal story along those lines too. You know, in my own headcanon, my character's been a rogue, my character's been a monk, my character's gone back to a rogue, and I think even in my own mind, I dabbled with the idea, well, maybe they were a Death Knight for a while, and then, you know, that got scrapped. But it's always a temptation because Death
Then they
Knights are
came
cool.
back to life. It's cool.
Who knows?
Weird things have happened.
Yeah, crazier things. We live in a fantasy world. So
Yes, and we're a fantasy girl.
I think there would be a lot of like work that would be involved in something like this for sure. I don't think it's something where they can just go, yeah, sure, do it, flip the switch. They can now change it. Because Final Fantasy is definitely designed around it. There is the nature of I'm going to a place and learning a job and getting a quest chain that involves learning that thing. But I would love to see it as a mechanic. I think it's a super cool idea.
Okay. Mew, what about you? You spent a bit more time than John and I. Well, definitely me in 14. I don't know how much you played of 11. I was in that thing a lot.
I had a max level white mage.
You played a bit more than me, but I leveled up a ton of different jobs. So, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the big difference between the two. Is at their core they were designed that way. 11 and 14 knew that you were going to be everything, including every crafting. That's the other big thing. Like, can you imagine WoW with the ability to do every crafting? That would be an easier thing to do, but it would also be overpowered.
That'd be a nightmarish game that I never want to play.
Well, but I mean, you could craft all of your parts of your weapon. You know, all of your gear. You know, that would be easier to do because those aren't tied to what your character is at a core. Whereas, you know, the Final Fantasy games, they focus more on you, and then all the classes are all done in such a way that it isn't that hard to switch into each one. You know, they're all kind of like they're all ethereally powered. Whereas you look at, you know, WoW, there's some you're using mana, some are using energy, some are using rage. Like that, you know, the way you bring energy to whatever you're doing is fundamentally different. That it just doesn't lend very well. Now I can see them maybe allowing, you know, say along your armor class, like any cloth, it can be any cloth class, any leather worker can be any leather working class. Like that might be a little easier, but I mean, it's just from the very beginning it wasn't set up that way. Like think of all the characters. It's very rare that someone has more than maybe 2 different classes character wise, like, you know, NPC wise in the game. You know, they may have started as one thing, but then they suddenly are a new thing. But it's probably more because whatever they were, like, didn't really have a good fit, and they finally have a class that it fits. So there you go. Like, now you're this class. You were always this class. Oh. But it's just we couldn't get a good fit for it before.
Look, as someone named Ben Monk, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea.
No clue.
Yeah. But that's like, I actually liked the way they did the Death Knight thing. It's like you had to be a certain level to become the Death Knight, and the way they did as well, if you wanted to, and I know several people did, you could pretend I'm creating this new Death Knight, but it is my old character. Now my old character is retired. Like a lot of people did that. I know that was the big thing, and it kind of allowed for this neat headcanon-y thing. You know, one of our fellow readers, Ro, did something similar where he was his character switched from, was it a warlock to shadow priest, or the other way around?
Yeah, to priest.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, we can do that ourselves, you know, and that's the other thing too, is that it doesn't seem like you need to invest so much in a WoW character to bring one up. Like there are very little things, like maybe achievements, maybe some really old pieces of equipment that you might have gotten, you know, 10 years ago, but a warrior at 120 now that boosted from 110 isn't going to be too much different from a warrior that has been a warrior since vanilla.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to look at two of them, and you're not really going to see much of a difference.
They've done a good job of closing that gap, but, like, whenever I think about what would be cool about this, I always go to those few exceptions that do exist. You know, like, I was a monk in Pandaria. That was my main. And I thought I was going to stick with it. I thought it was going to be my main forever, and then Warlords of Draenor happened, and I got bored, and when I got bored, I was like, let me play a little more on the rogue, and then I was like, oh yeah, best class, and that was
That's why you won't use any add-ons in Classic, because you had the best class, so you don't need it.
right.
Yeah.
Then that was the end of the monk, but as a result, I didn't do all those reps on my rogue, so I have all these thunder serpents that I don't have cloud serpent riding for.
No, you get that now. Everybody.
Oh,
Has
do
that.
they
everyone
do
gets
that?
Yeah,
They got
it's
rid
Yeah,
of
they
it's
changed
everywhere.
that like
Hey!
expansions ago.
It couldn't
no,
do it when I tried, and then I never tried again. So
And I agree. There are certain things like that that are more rare. Like the not the moonkin, but those bears that are in that weird tunnel between
Oh,
Fairless
yeah.
and whatnot.
The
Like that was a
yeah.
pain to level up. And anyone with that is probably pretty proud of it. Anyone that has the insane title, that's not something you're going to get on every character.
Yeah.
There are a few things here and there, but I mean, for the most part, those aren't affecting your gameplay. It's just a neat little title you have on your head. But how is having Exalted with the Hydrexian Waterlords going to help you with whatever we're doing in Mechagon, for example?
Well, let me
It's cool,
let me
but-
throw one more out there, and it's gonna be one that I think a lot of people on the surface are gonna go, what's the big deal? But I think it might be the biggest deal. Not to get too sentimental, but at the end of the day, that new character isn't gonna have the name of the character that I'm pretending they are.
No, that's not like, oh, that's too sentimental. No, that's entirely something that I go with. I mean, I like the idea of being able to dabble in everything, and I'm totally calling it Bruce Wayning, because Bruce Wayne went and like studied under all these different things, learned all these different fighting styles, learned to be a detective, learned to do this and that and everything. And that's one of the reasons why Batman can do everything
Yeah.
without any superpowers, because he spent the time and learned how to do that and stuff. Characters in Final Fantasy, 11 and 14 and stuff, you're able to do all the different jobs, and it makes sense because you do have that training going through and doing it. Now, if I was, playing on my original mage, but needed to heal, would I have switched her to a monk to try something out? Maybe. I happen to love Pandaren, so, in that case, I had an extra alt there. But if this was any other, any game where I was able to switch, I probably would have had like a paladin or a priest like leveled up already, where I could have just swapped her role and then went in to start healing that way. So in a way, it helps that we do have these entirely other characters to kind of try things out with, as opposed to, just kind of what you have. Because another thing that I think would be kind of interesting, and at least a way to differentiate it, is that what if you can only do the jobs that race could do? Like, so I'm a blood elf. I can't be. Okay, blood elves can be almost everything. Hold on.
You picked a good one, Ben.
Okay, so humans can be everything. Everybody knows that. So I'm a Tauren. I can't be a rogue.
That's
know,
still a
I'm a
shame.
Torn Rogue.
I know.
You just never see me.
That old
No, but
chestnut.
yeah, but yeah, and that's an interesting thing that I've actually seen happening. To switch back to Final Fantasy 14, is that I'm seeing for the rating, the rating world, is they're actually like focusing to level and max the same type of job. So in Final Fantasy 14, they have like there's a machinist that shoots guns, a bard that shoots arrows, and now they have a dancer that throws chakra and whatnot. Those are all considered ranged physical DPS, and I'm seeing that like people are starting to group them, so they'll maximize those three because they share gear, they share stats, they share a certain group of things, but they do things slightly differently. They bring different things to the raid. The dancer actually buffs other people, so someone might be, I focus on tanks, so they have all the tanks leveled up, and that way whenever a new raid comes out and we find out, hey, this raid boss is really easier if you have a tank that does this. Well, right now in a WoW, it's like, well, I've been focusing on my druid tank. Oh well, I guess that this encounter doesn't work well for me, and then with the switch, I won't be the effective main tank I was before, and so I actually have a prot warrior leveled up now, and now I can switch between the two. but that's two different characters, and it would be kind of awesome if I could just say, no, my Tauren can now be a warrior as well.
Yeah, they just kind of swap. It's like, oh, I'm a bear for this fight because it works, but I'm swapping them over this. I mean, we're already kind of doing that just within our own class with the different specs and everything.
Yeah.
But being able to swap like that would be really great. Or, when there are those fights where, okay, we need a fourth tank or a fifth tank, and people could be everything, or at least, something within their racial jobs and stuff. They can go through and completely cheese a fight, or make it that much harder by changing what everybody can do. I think it'd be really interesting, and it could be a lot of fun, especially to see stuff that happens.
I say we baby step this, because clearly we've identified a problem here, and that problem is that not all the races can be everything.
Yeah.
You know what? It's 2019. It's time to stop keeping the people down. It's time to let everybody believe they can be whatever they want to be.
Ooh, Gnome Druids, yay!
Yep, it's time. It's time.
Oh, I would love to see that.
It's time to
so cute.
open up
Little tiny kittens.
the class floodgates for everybody. And Blizzard, I will give you a pass. I know sometimes I get a little iffy about it. I understand I'm asking for suddenly a lot of druid art. I will let you get away with rolling it out over time. But it's time to let everybody be what they want to be. Let them do it. Let them do it all, because it's silly we don't have Tauren rogues, and it don't come at me with the lore on this. It's silly that we don't have Forsaken Paladins. I want
Forsaken Druids.
I want it. Yeah, we have Forsaken Priests. We can have Forsaken Paladins.
Look, Forsaken Druids are essentially the Kultiran Druids, right?
Yeah, but a little bit more undeathy.
Yeah. Less like patches of fur and plant life, more bones.
Yeah, it's like all dead plants. It's even cooler.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No, I like that. That'd be great. And okay, so do you guys remember when Pandaren were announced, and they're like, oh no, they can't be druids. Why would a bear turn into a bear? But then on the previous expansion, it was like, why would Worgen be a druid?
Yes,
because
exactly.
Yeah,
They're dogs. Why would they become a cat?
Yeah, it's like that whole
What?
thing.
Yeah, exactly. I never It's like, I'm a human. I'm a werewolf. Now, for my ultimate play,
I'm a tree.
I'm a bear. It's like, wait, what are you doing?
Well, actually,
Just stop it.
I mean, according to the lore for Worgen, it's actually normal for them to be other forms of the druid, because they are a result of the druids actually doing some weird investigations into. But
Then it should all be
Oh my
wolf
God, he
forms. It
actually
should
does.
all be wolves across the board.
Yeah.
Look,
I want to see a wolf tree.
here's the problem. I hate to get into this again,
Bark, bark.
but it continues to bug me. That was good. It took me a minute,
It was really good.
and it's good. I like it a lot. So, we all know my problem with Worgen. If you're new, let me catch you up. No, that's my second problem. It's my second problem with Worgen. My primary problem with Worgen is that you are a badass werewolf who then pulls out a stick and a book, or a sword, or daggers, or whatever other weapon, and then fights with those. And I hate it. You're a freaking beast that should tear people apart. Greymane does it. It's time for all Worgen should be able to just tear into people. I don't know how that works for mages, but whatever. It's not my problem
Worgen
to
Druid.
solve.
There you go. Yeah, Worgen
That's
Druids
the,
already do that.
Unarmed
that's
combat.
the problem with Worgen Druid, is to me it makes the least amount of sense and the most amount of sense at the same time.
Yeah.
I
Well, there you go.
don't get it. It's
You know
hard.
what? Local Clovis kind of pointed something out. Wow, why each one can smack you with your stick? They are trying not to be animalistic and turn to that feral side,
yes.
so that's why they're using weapons and more refined. It's like the scene from Beauty and the Beast when he finally learns to use the spoon again, as opposed to like. It's the same
Yeah.
exact thing. They're
civilized.
Yes, their sword or their stick and book and everything. It's just their beast spoon. That's
No,
all
I
is.
hate it. I want to be a cool beastly Worgen. I don't want to be eating the spoon.
But they look so good in top hats.
They do, but they also
do.
that's not how they get depicted in the game. Like, you don't go up to the Worgen and they're not always all fancy. They're always like, oh, it's ferocious. Look at him, beastly. Like Greymane's
But
got
they
his
forgot their
temper.
hat, that's all it is.
like
Everyone lost their hat in their hometown. That's what happened.
No, what they need to do is they should have an automatic transmog so that right hand is a teacup, left hand is a tea saucer.
and their little pinky
Monocle.
extends.
Don't forget the monocle.
Yes, exactly.
That's the
When they
best
attack, they
feature of their new model is they've added pinky technology.
But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, I mean, I don't know, do you know the actual lore of the Worgen, though, of why it isn't unusual for a Worgen druid to exist?
Yeah,
No, I
was
get
all
it.
the
I
shit-
just
yeah.
it's fine, but they're just turning from beast to beast, and it looks silly. It looks goofy.
No, but I mean, that's the whole thing. Worgen are a result of druids screwing around with nature.
Look,
That's
I used to really like watching like the Wild West stunt shows or the Waterworld stunt shows, where they got a bunch of people to do fun stunts. And inevitably in those stunt shows, someone causes a distraction and disappears through a door behind the stage, only to reappear somewhere up on top of the set and zip line down right back to where he started and then go, ha-ha, like it was a big move. I get why they did it, but when I step back a little bit, I go, that didn't accomplish a damn thing. This is ridiculous. I don't
Maybe
like
they had to
this
put-
at all.
Maybe they had to push a button up there.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
it was a quest. They had a quest back there.
Boop, zip.
Like,
Yeah.
I know we're not going to solve Worgen anytime soon. Like, all I want is they should just come up with some animations that are, like, tearing people apart, and it should, at the very least, be a transmog option for warriors and rogues. And the casters can be the sophisticated ones, because that makes sense. They're casting anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're waving their claws around, does that count? I mean,
No! No, you're a damn werewolf. You need to go eat faces.
But I'm a mage.
Like, they should turn into MacGruber every time they go into Worgen form and just start ripping throats. That's all they should do. That should be their one move that they pull as a Worgen, is just ripping throats.
Wait, I thought MacGruber was the guy that was a ripoff of MacGyver.
It is.
Oh, he is.
He rips
You need
throats.
to see the movie.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Totally
Okay.
rips throats.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, going back to druids though, and talking about all the races. So, would every goblin druid form just be like a hairless version of whatever the animal is?
I think it should be whatever you do for the gnome druids, and then do exactly what you just said. It's just it's the
Hairless version
same
of it, yeah.
thing, but it's a hairless version of it, and kind of sickly green.
Yeah.
I mean, look, those hairless cats, people love them and everything. That's great. I've met one or two. They're really sweet, but they look a little off to me. I'm used to a cat with hair. I'm sorry.
I feel judged.
Are you a cat?
No.
You have hair, though.
Do I?
It's right here. Yes, I'm looking at it.
He wants to pet your beard.
No, I'm not saying that.
No,
that's just
what-
getting weird.
No, that's what I heard. And I heard it in that tone. That was the tone he used.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but overall, I don't know. I like the idea of, my Pandaren monk being a monk. That's what she is. But also, Pandaren warriors are really cool. So I could see her just being all like, "Hey, monks use swords. Why wouldn't she just, have this other really aggressive version of fighting if she needed to?"
Yeah, that's the warrior I made on the Horde side is Pandaren, just because of just how awesome they are as a warrior, and just the noises they're making, the screaming, they're little rage beasts. It's kind of fun to
Oh
watch.
yeah, it's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But they're like acrobatic rage beasts. It's like they're letting loose like all this fury and pain and just like rage,
Yeah.
but like so gracefully. It is amazing. I love how they do it.
Yeah, I already have a whole head canon for my character too. It's like it's one of those pandas. Just what is this? Hold your emotions and check. No, I'm just gonna rage beast. Just gonna rage beast and just scream and gnash teeth and just hack away at everything I can. And no, I don't belong on Pandaria. I don't belong in Pandaria at all. No.
Perfect. Very perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you know what? When you got enough, you can find God or the light or whatever and be a priest, and everything will be fine. That's how you cope. Yeah,
They should add
that's the job description.
they should add the ferocious Worgen fighting style to the game, and then they should give it to the Pandaren.
Oh, that'd be so cool. They don't have giant claws though. They just have like little itty bitty
Yeah.
like nails.
I know, that's what makes it even better. They're just like just coming
Oh,
at
being
you anyway.
scratched to death.
They're
Ah.
the ones totally biting faces though. Just, yeah, if you have a Pandoran and you haven't or a Pandaren and you haven't done slash roar, you need to because it is having a great sound.
Wow, yeah, I should try to check that out. Well, it's probably what I'm hearing constantly as a warrior, because
Maybe.
the noises that thing makes is just whoa. You are really into what you're doing.
Interesting. I should try it. I should see what this is all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Pandaren was like the race that I was the most excited for and then made none of. I tried a couple
I was
times.
actually kind of surprised about that.
Yeah, but I didn't. I don't play a Pandaren. I just never landed on it.
Yeah, I had a similar setup of that, but it was kind of more tinted with the fact that I was working for Blizzard at the time, so I knew about it all this time, and we already had a chip on our shoulder about it because of everyone making fun. It's like, oh, it's just Kung Fu Panda, oh, it's just goofy stuff. But here we were enjoying ourselves with these pandas internally, and so like it was kind of funny that the huge chip we had. It's like, no, pandas are awesome. Just you wait. Yeah, they are.
Although I will say I made a male Pandaren warrior at first, and I'm like, okay, cool and everything, and then I started wearing like plate armor, and then the belly was still jiggly and stuff. I'm like, no, metal plates don't do
Yeah.
that. I can't. No. So
That's
that's why she's a she now.
Yes,
because
that's-
seriously.
That's my only hang up is I can't get behind the male pandas. Just I've tried and none of the classes feel right with a male panda.
The monk actually works out pretty well. I mean, it makes more sense, especially if it's a brewmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No,
now
I
you're
just-
telling him to lean into the trope that he had a chip on his shoulder about.
Yeah.
True.
You know what would work great for you? Why don't you try a Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah.
That would work great.
And name him Poe.
Yeah.
You know, from that Star Wars character.
Yeah.
And
Poe,
when he
yeah, with the E on
talks,
the end.
make sure he sounds like Jack Black.
Mhm.
You could just do that.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can change voice files out.
Yeah, totally. So there's an add-on for that.
I'm sure there is. Oh, I kind of want to just get on there and have every single Pandaren sound like Jack Black from now on.
That'd be so good.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Sorry, my mind just blew up with like just looking instead of like
All the-
slow down. It's like I couldn't think of a Jack Black quote right away that was like appropriate.
Right. Well, you
Yeah.
know, but that level of energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either
exactly.
singing, pretending to rock, or just yelling uncontrollably.
Pretending to rock.
Oh,
well,
no, he
you know, he
Yeah.
does actually rock. I'm not gonna argue that. That remains to this day my favorite BlizzCon show that I
Yeah.
saw. It's
Oh yeah.
was hands down my favorite. But
Yeah, it's a Weird Al Tenacious D tie for me. They were both so good.
Mm.
um,
I don't know. It's hard to match up with wasn't it Jack Black had Dave Grohl as their drummer?
Yeah, he's the unofficial drummer for
Yeah.
Tenacious D.
And that's why he came back the next year to
Yeah.
do the full on Foo Fighters thing. So that was kind of a neat little mix up for me.
yeah.
Or not mix up, but, you know.
So who's playing this year? All right, cool. No.
Well,
Yeah,
now
she
the
had to-
problem is we're all thinking of it. Like
Yeah.
now you've
Like,
actually kind of broken us
Yeah.
as we all sit there trying to go.
Well, what you have to do is you have to find
Yes.
out whose tour is going to be bringing them near California around that time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ro does actually a really good job of like either figuring it out like right out
Mhm.
or having like a couple options that are actually really good like things that would fit with BlizzCon.
Yeah.
So I'll just ask him and he'll tell me.
Yeah.
he'll predict it. It's a shame that's not a category on the prediction show because we find out before. Because
Yeah.
Ro would do actually really well. Maybe he could win one of these fairly for once.
What we should do? We should add a who did you think was going to be?
You guys, that's a good point. We should figure out who we're gonna have for the prediction show, and I should have you all write
Yeah.
down who you think the band will be.
I was gonna say pick a date and say, okay, everyone needs to have their decisions date and turn it in. We don't know if you're gonna be in part of the show or not, but you just turn that in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Al, I can't read it because it's small on my screen. But Aleandrius, cool. Said now we need to know if it's going to be more than one performer or not. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I forgot about the triple performance last year, which Lindsey Sterling was still freaking awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. They
My concert was a little ruined for me, but yeah, that was definitely a great concert otherwise.
your concert? Wait.
Yeah,
Because I got up and left near the end.
Oh,
totally.
okay.
Yeah. No. It's we went to see Lindsay, but the stuff that happened in our periphery and yeah, it was not fun. But other than that, it was great.
Yeah, a bunch of people who didn't get there early enough who decided that standing in front of people and fighting for seats and yelling at people and being entitled and stuff made it not that much fun.
Wow,
Yeah.
gamers acting entitled.
Yeah.
That's
I know,
weird.
right? Weird.
I will say that it was a very supposedly adamant Lindsay Sterling fan with the shirts and everything that was questioning our, I'm more of a fan than you are, that made me back up and say, maybe I'm not so much of a fan of her, because if that's what a fan of hers looks like, maybe I don't want that. But aside.
Yeah.
I would say that guy's just a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
He's a jerky guy.
Mm.
I was gonna say he's a fan of jerks, but no, that doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, I guess some general advice for BlizzCon is if there's something you care greatly about, make sure you
Get there
invest the time and make sure you plan accordingly.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
That's some free advice from somebody who's good at predicting BlizzCon stuff.
With also the chance that you might win it forever.
I say you're going to be the forever winner, I can tell.
It
So,
it could happen.
It's just
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
we don't know that it's gonna happen, and I think the more we've heard about the rumors and all of that, it's been very light, but it could happen. I could be the forever king of Azeroth Roundtable.
The fact that your chances from 0 went up to like 10%
it's big.
almost enough right there. It's a big deal.
That's a huge deal, yeah. And I mean, they're at Disneyland every year practically. They're all the time doing the Christmas parties and whatnot. So they have a pretty good relationship with the company already.
That'd be pretty sweet. We'd have to figure out what we do around BlizzCon from then on.
Like, yeah, I know. It's like who's going to want to compete with you if you're the automatic winner? It's like,
Yeah,
what fun is that?
that's no
or are we
fun
just
there.
competing for second place now?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, we'll figure something out. It'll be the honorary title for
Yes,
the year.
Runner up. Yay, I'm
Yeah,
the
it's
runner
like-
up.
Art king or queen for a day.
this is
Be the
why,
Archester.
no matter how certain you are, you never make the statement, if that happens.
True. Very true. But, oh man, look, I'm not going to lie. A Disney-owned Blizzard, imagine what Heroes of the Storm will look like at that point.
Yeah, jeez.
Oh, the potential there would be really interesting if they, had a team to work on it. But that aside,
Man, it was the weirdest thing. So I was running, it was the Raven map, which I forget what it's called now because I haven't played that in a long time. But it was Sylvanas, Artanis, Goofy, Iron Man, and Mary Poppins. It was the weirdest.
oh
weirdest
man,
comp,
I
but
would
it
be
really
a
worked.
Mary Poppins main in a heartbeat.
But what to blow your mind? So, what happens to Kingdom Hearts then?
Oh.
What needed to
Well,
happen to
to be
Kingdom Hearts all along from the beginning?
No, to be fair, okay, so I started playing Kingdom Hearts 4 or 3, and my question is what's happening in Kingdom Hearts? I mean,
Well, you're not supposed to know that. You're never supposed to figure that out. That's part of the allure.
You're supposed to just play the game and go, things I like.
Well, I will say, like, after a very long time and randomly showing up and seeing Hades again, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, you're in this.
Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
bad guy.
James Woods is great, and even if it's not him, that's a really good James Woods.
Disney. I remember Disney. That's in this game. Final Fantasy. All right, here we go.
Dude, Chip and Dale showed up, and I nearly peed myself. I'm like, oh, it's Chip and Dale! They gave me a phone.
All right, well, at least we know where the appeal lies there. I mean, if we could have a Spider-Man in the game,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
man,
happy.
that'd be crazy. I mean, I know a lot of people get iffy about the whole Disney monopolizing everything, but you
Well,
know,
they're getting close.
here's the problem. We've seen a lot of the world falling into shambles recently for 3+ years now, and I think as a result, like, I see what happens when Disney owns everything. And I think I'm at a point now where I'm just like, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. I've turned into Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force of just, it don't matter. None of this matters. just do what you're gonna do. It's gonna be.
I mean, why is it going to matter? Disney, you'll be working for Disney anyway, and living on Disney property anyway, so you won't care at that point.
That's
It'll
true.
just be-
It turns
how
out
it always
true
was.
communism was just belonging to Disney. Like, they said it couldn't be
Oh my
done. True
God.
communism couldn't be achieved.
So all that Red Scare stuff with Walt Disney back in the 40s was accurate?
Yes, Ben.
Whoa!
Yes, it was.
Or 50s or whenever. I don't know history all that well.
You know the reason, you know the whole story about behind Epcot is, right?
No.
That one of the original plans for Epcot was to also have like the employee housing and to have fully sustainable farming and everything, so that it was a little self-contained world. Like, that's literally what it was supposed to be. So hey, they're just gonna bring that plan
They're
back
basically they're basically there.
up,
Uh,
and there's just a weird side thing is there's a little town next to Disney World called Celebration that was created by
I
Disney.
know about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like very specific, well, we'll call them HOA rules.
Yes. Yeah, Disney controls that HOA.
Yeah.
So
Basically-
that's actually the part that I'm the most curious about is in a world, let's, pretend that we're not talking about something that, again, is not likely to actually happen, but the fact that there's a chance is why we're talking about it. But what happens to series like Diablo in a world where Blizzard is now a Disney-owned product?
Touched
I
him.
mean, to be fair, they don't turn everything into family friendly.
It's true, they don't, but you
Like,
can...
have you ever seen the big, huge chart of, hey, these are all the things that Disney actually owns? There's so much in there.
Look,
that
Ben,
is not
I've
just-
been to the 12 p.m. Disneyland blood orgies. I know what they can get up to.
Oh man, then did you guys ever? Did you
I've
guys-
been there. I was invited.
Oh.
I'm
By
not
name
supposed to talk about it.
and
but-
blood type. Yeah, but I mean, okay, so going way back into World of Warcraft and everything, the idea of them actually owning, or Disney owning Blizzard and everything, like, it makes Blizzard World that much closer to being a thing, and I'm okay with that too.
that's your end game. You're like,
Yeah.
just let it happen.
Like, when that happens, and I can go and stand in line for the Goldshire minecart ride or whatever it is, and I can hear what's his face talking to me, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm just happy place. When I get to go to that Murloc Island, happy place. I'm good.
Yeah, but the problem is, it's gonna wind up in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, if it's anything like Star Wars Land, they'll put it in Disneyland too.
They're out of room, though.
Yeah, that's the
Make
thing. Well,
it.
yeah, that's the thing. Well, they'd have to start buying everything, but
Yeah.
yeah, like Disney World, they've only used like 35% of the land they own in Florida.
Jeez.
That's because of what happened with Disneyland. Like it became so popular, all the hotels bought all the land around them, so they couldn't expand anymore. So Walt, when he moved to Florida, was like, you know what? Buy everything. Just buy it all. I don't care. Just buy it all. We're keeping this forever. I don't want them doing that again.
Yeah, and didn't they buy it under like shell companies and stuff too, so that
Well,
people didn't
it's-
know that they were getting all these different pieces?
At first, yeah, but it was once it was done, it was pretty obvious who was doing it. But yeah, I mean, they had their own little town. That's Reedy Creek. Like it's supposedly its own little incorporated town. So
Interesting.
and the other thing that is most of it is actually in Osceola County, not Orange County. Orlando it is. So it's actually more in Kissimmee than it is in Orlando. Useless facts
Fun
I know
facts
because I
about
worked there.
Florida that
Yeah.
I've never been to.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
fascinating.
I worked for Disney for several years. That's why.
I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble for indirectly throwing shade at Florida. It's nothing personal, Florida, but you know.
It's not like you know anyone that's from Florida
Look,
or anything, and you would be
The
offended
fact,
by that.
the fact that there's someone named Florida Man,
You
who does
know.
all the stuff-
You know. Look, I live in Arizona. I know. We all know of things
Oh,
about
God,
where
yeah.
we live. Every state has its problems. I don't know if there's any
Mhm.
perfect states. And at the end of the day, we know. And all I'm saying is, Florida, before you get too mad at me, you know.
well, since a lot of people do retire in Florida and Arizona, surprisingly, when your character is finally old enough, where in the World of Warcraft are you going to retire?
Oh, I already know this. We've talked about this before. And I don't think my answer's changed. Well, hold on. I was going to be first on the spot with shooting from the hip again, and now I'm going to take a moment to think more about it.
Okay. See, the thing is that I'm going with the two characters that I've had as mains because it only makes sense. The thing is that Alanya, my mage, she retired, and then I wanted to get the Blood Elf heritage armor, so I got to play her some more. So she's unretiring, and then she'll retire again. But she's going to be retiring in the mage hall, the mage order hall, because it makes sense.
Yeah.
She's the leader. Because that
Yeah.
story is still going.
I'm not retiring in the Rogue Order Hall.
I wouldn't blame you. But then my Pandaren is definitely going back to Pandaria and probably
Well,
aiding in the cleanup of the Valley of the Golden Sun.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
It's a good plan. But there's always also the Wandering Isle.
Yeah, I could do that. But I've got to
Oh,
teleport. that
I'm
all it's
supposed to
taking.
think
but-
of this from my character perspective,
Yeah.
not just from
Yeah.
where I want to live.
Well, but, think of the
No.
Wandering Isle. It's like it's a big piece of Pandaria, but it wanders. So you can you can be wherever you want in the world, just wherever it happens to wander.
Yeah, and that's a really cool island. Like, I love the fact that you can go on to the Order Hall and just go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a way to cheese it to go into the staff forest area. It's kind of tricky, but you can do it. You can do it.
Man.
You've been out of bouncing, haven't you?
A little. But it was rough. But I got there. I nearly died. But, yeah, John, any ideas?
Well, I was gonna say Howling Fjord, but that I think is just my answer. I mean, I don't think it makes sense for my rogue to go there. Maybe, but I don't see. Look, not a lot of people lived in Northrend, so I don't expect a lot of people to be like, "Yeah, let's go back to Northrend."
Might have had
Yeah,
something to do
there's
with all the undead.
There's definitely not undead crawling around everywhere. Woo!
Yeah, there must always be a Lich King. Where would I feel like I retired my character before, and where did I think that was gonna be? I don't know.
Man,
Has anybody
my
else
druid
said?
loves Val Shara. I mean, that's the perfect druid place to hang out. Convenient teleports everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, a little, Emerald Nightmare around too, but other than that,
Yeah, no, but you gotta have something to make it a little spicy every now and then. If it's too boring,
Yeah.
I mean,
you take the good, you take the bad, and you retire, and that's what you had.
I don't know. Zoltazar's pretty good.
You really think she'd retire there?
I mean, well, storyline wise, that's where she is. Like, she's just hanging out there, waiting for actual interesting adventure to happen. So,
Dinosaurs.
in my head, she's just sitting there going, "Yep." And someone's like, "They killed the king." She's like,
Crap.
"All right."
yeah. Wasn't one of my people.
They're like, "The Alliance is attacking. You want to do something about it?" Nope, I don't. Hey, do you want to go to? There's a whole thing under the sea. Not today.
For you.
I just got these shoes. I don't want to get them wet.
We're gonna go to Mechagon. I don't know what what that is. It's it's like a trash pile. Well, I'm not going there.
There's a lot of gnomes there, I hear.
Definitely
you know what
not
you need
going
to
there.
do? John, you need to find one of those underwater bars and just retire.
Oh my gosh, yes,
Yes.
the underwater
Yeah.
bars are fantastic. Just like, can people talk under there?
Yeah.
Well, you can breathe, so sure, why not?
No, there's
just down there.
there's
What's
there's
troubling you? It's just that, it's nothing but that.
face, brother.
Well, you know, the Alliance invaded again. I don't know if I want to participate.
Well, if you do, they might, be defeated this time.
Did you know this patch has more content than any other patch in the history of WoW? It's basically its own mini expansion.
Well, by golly, you should go out there and do all of it. Well, thanks for joining us on Thanks for joining us on this episode of Azeroth Roundtable. It has been an absolute pleasure learning about Florida and also chatting about WoW.
I'm amazed you said that with a straight face. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, we always like talking to you, so I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day and spending it with us.
Yeah, I love talking to you guys, and just one of the times where it's recorded. That's all.
Yeah. Well, until next time we have you on, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at Twitter at @TheMewCow because someone still has MewCow and has not let it go. And I am also on the Twitchy, where you might see me popping up from time to time as we might be using it for the AIE podcast, which is another thing you can see me on. The AIE podcast, a podcast dedicated to the ins and outs of what's been going on in the various AIE guilds, and mostly, of course, in Warcraft, but in Final Fantasy XIV, as we've spoken about, and SWTOR, SDO, etc., etc. And that's every other week, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. And cool. I believe that's about it.
All right. Hey, John.
Hi, Ben.
Current champion of Azeroth Roundtable.
Thank you.
Possible always champion of Azeroth Roundtable.
Thank you.
If people are looking for you, where can they find you?
And I say thank you because you made this happen. Hey, if you want to find more of me, follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. I can let you know where I'll be, what I'm up to. But if you say, why John, I would like to hear you talk about other video games. You dabbled a little bit on this show.
I would like to talk to you. Shit, I missed what you said.
I was gonna see if you made it. You didn't quite, but
No.
Hey, that's all right, Ben. You can hear me talk about other video games on a show called Core.
Oh,
whoa! There's bass in that. That's a show. It's about video games. You can find out more about that at heroesforyou.com. It's part of the Frog Pants Network. I do that with Scott Johnson and Bo Schwartz, and yeah. Sometimes we talk about Heroes of the Storm.
Cool.
Most of the time we talk about video games. I also...
Heroes of the Storm is a video game.
It is, as it turns out. It's a damn good one, too. It's got a new hero in it.
Coming soon, Mary Poppins.
An original hero named Kira. She's awesome. She has a whip sword.
Ooh.
She can swing around you and kick you. And
oh, that's cool.
Kira's pretty great, Ben. You should see Kira. You should just log in and try her, and then log out.
Okay,
and
we'll see.
This is a pretty cool character. She's like Spider-Man, basically.
Oh, well then that's great.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the Ben interest level, where I was like, you should try her, because she's, she throws out like a line and pulls herself places, and she's swinging around people and kicking them and stuff. Like, it's very Spider-Man-y.
That makes sense. That would be something that I would enjoy.
Yeah. I was like, this is Ben marketing right here. I also play Dungeons and Dragons and record it and put it online, as my generation is known to do. That's a show called There Will Be Dungeons. You can find out more about that at therewillbedungeons.com. We record that show every Sunday.
Not Saturday?
As of last week. Yeah, you should check it out. we're coming up on the end of a dungeon, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Sometimes you think the dungeon's over, and sometimes the dungeon's a whole underground facility, and who knows when it's all gonna end. We're fighting. We actually, last episode ended in the middle of a fight, so it's going to be very weird getting back into it. We're fighting, I can't remember the name of the monster, but it looks like a giant ape.
Is it Bill?
Nope.
Joe?
Nope. The name of the, not their personal name, Ben.
Josephine.
The name of the creature name.
Marty.
Ben, you do a D&D show where you should know better.
Yes, all the mobs are named in the one I do.
Oh, okay.
I don't ask their names though, but I just know their name.
Where can people find you, Ben?
Well, if you're looking for that D&D show, you can. Well, the one where I'm playing D&D, that's called +5 to Hit. If you want to hear me actually talk about D&D, that show is called D&D Discussions. I do another show with Elutra called Box Fort, where if you want to hear me geek out about random things that include but are not limited to video games, movies, comic books, whatever. Take a listen to that. We go places on that show. It's kind of fun. And last but not least, if you're looking for me on Twitter, I am at Ben Bumhofer. But this show, Azeroth Roundtable, we're also on Twitter. You can find us at AzerothRT. We record weekly Friday nights, usually at 8 p.m. Pacific. And if you have any questions, comments, want to ask us questions about Florida that we can, in turn ask Mew, or, anything else, you can always email us. Send those to AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. And of course, if you like this episode and want to hear more, check us out at AzerothRoundtable.com, as well as on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and other places. Also rate us if you want, give us stars.
Before we go, we've had a good time here today, and that good time was made possible by people. Now, sure, you could say, of course, John, you, Ben, Mew, you made tonight's good time possible, and, to some extent that's true. We did do a lot of the heavy lifting, but we were propped up by your money. People specifically who went to patreon.com/AzerothRT and gave us that money that, we wiped the sweat of our brow with tonight. We want to give a special shout out to the Murloc Club who went above and beyond. Aaron, Birschkauber, Brandon O, Haster, Jesse O, Caleb M, Shane X, and Taryn, thank you so much for your support. And a big thank you to all of our patrons.
Yes, especially our newest ones, Tyler L and Ayla J.
Oh.
To all of you, I have to say...
That's Murloc for hey.
Close.
I speak fluent Murloc.
No, you don't.
It's on my character sheet.
Chat room, you guys were great as always. Mew, again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And all of you listeners at home, thank you for tuning in to Azeroth Roundtable. Until next time, be good to each other.
You say it every week, and for some reason tonight I was like, "What's he gonna say?"
I was thinking with it, but if you were painting the being propped up by their, kind of imagining us being propped up by actual physical money.
I only sit up straight when there's a stack of bills in my lower back. If it's below 100, I start to tilt. Down I go.
And that might be where the podcast
Who knows? Who knows whatever's going on here.
Probably stopping it where I normally do.
Yeah.
But also, everybody who's tuning in now, if you missed it from the beginning, hey, listen to this. It's really cool.
This is War Chief Sylvanas Windrunner, and you're listening to Azeroth Roundtable with Ben Bumhofer and my champion of the Horde, John Jagger.
That's me.
The Dark Lady watches over you. And my statue.
That's that thing right back there.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Ro really hooked us up.
I let Scott hear that. and he said, well, Ben sort of got the short end of the stick on that intro.
Yeah, because you're the champion of the horde, and he's just Ben.
I mean, usually I do because everybody relates love of Sylvanas and Murlocs to you, even though I love them at least equally, if not more.
I've always equated you with the Murlocker and him with.
I think I would give Ben the Murloc. I wouldn't give him Sylvanas, but I would give Ben the Murloc.
Yeah, well, I do like her. I think she's pretty fab.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after hearing all that.
Yeah.
She's definitely watching.
Yeah,
She definitely has a favorite on the show. We'll just say that.
She's gonna be thrilled that you thought she was fab.
Faboo.
I think she's fab.
Oh, look at that. That's a good voice, Ben. You did a good job.
Well, thank you.
Because you said that, and I looked to see where it was coming from. That's what made it so good. Oh, I should stop the